The unexpected encounter. The night sky above the alien world was filled with burning red clouds. Lightning moved like angry snakes across the horizon, and the air smelled of smoke and dust. A lone human walked carefully across the rocky ground. His name was Daniel. He was not a soldier, not a hero, just an explorer sent from Earth to study this strange planet. But tonight, he felt like prey, hunted by shadows he could not understand. His oxygen mask hissed with every breath, reminding him how far he was from home. The planet was dangerous, the surface alive with hostile creatures. But Earth needed resources, rare minerals hidden in these mountains. So Daniel kept walking, even as fear pushed against his heart. Suddenly the silence broke. From behind the rocks, 3 alien beasts leaped, their bodies black and shining like oil. Their eyes glowed green, and their jaws opened wider than any animal on Earth. Daniel grabbed his laser cutter, but it was a tool, not a weapon. He swung it anyway. A flash of light cut the air. The creatures hissed and circled him, their claws scraping the stone. Daniel ran, his boots sliding on the sharp ground. The aliens chased fast as shadows. He fired again, hitting one in the leg, but it only slowed for a second. The other 2 jumped, claws reaching. At the last moment, Daniel dove into a narrow crack in the cliff wall. The creatures smashed against the rocks but could not follow. Their howls echoed behind him as he crawled deeper into the dark passage. The tunnel led down, colder and stranger. His flashlight cut across walls covered with glowing marks, symbols like stars and circles. It felt less like a cave and more like a forgotten temple. Daniel's heart raced, but he could not go back. The beasts still waited outside, hungry. As he moved further in, the sound of dripping water changed. It became softer, mixed with something else. Breathing, weak and heavy. Daniel froze, his light trembling in his hand. Who could be here? So, deep underground, he followed the sound until the tunnel opened into a hidden chamber, and what he saw made his breath catch. Lying against a stone throne was a figure unlike any he had seen. Tall, regal, with skin that shimmered like silver under the light. She wore armor broken in places, and across her side was a deep glowing wound. Her eyes opened slowly, burning with golden fire. Daniel stepped back in shock, realizing she was no simple alien. She was a queen. Her voice was weak but carried power. You, human, how did you enter this sacred place? Daniel raised his hands, showing he meant no harm. I was running from the beasts outside. I did not know this place was yours. The queen tried to rise but winced in pain. The wound across her body glowed brighter, like a flame eating her from inside. Daniel wanted to turn and run, but something held him there. This was no enemy soldier, no monster. This was someone dying, someone proud but helpless. He took a slow step forward, his heart hammering. I can help, he said, though he was not sure how. The queen's eyes narrowed, sharp as blades. No one can help me. This wound is cursed. Only my true mate could heal it. Daniel froze, confused by her words. Mate? That was impossible. He was human. She was alien. But still, when he looked at her wound, something strange stirred inside him. The glowing light seemed to call to him, pulling him closer. He shook his head, whispering to himself, "This is madness. I should leave." But outside, the beasts howled again, scratching at the rocks. He had nowhere else to go. And here, in this dark chamber, stood a queen whose very presence filled the air with power. Daniel swallowed hard, torn between fear and curiosity. The queen's gaze softened for a moment. If you are wise, human, you will turn away, for touching this wound may kill you. Her words should have made him retreat. Yet his feet did not move. Something deeper than fear, deeper than logic, held him in place. He remembered why he had come to this world, to search for survival, to push past limits. Maybe this was another kind of survival, not only for him, but for her as well. Daniel knelt slowly before the alien queen, Her breath came in shallow gasps, her eyes flickering like stars about to die. He reached out his hand, stopping just above the wound. The glow pulsed, as if it could sense him. For a moment, the whole chamber fell silent. Even the howls outside faded. And in that silence, Daniel realized his journey had only just begun. The forbidden wound. The chamber was silent except for the Queen's heavy breathing. Daniel's hand hovered close to the strange wound glowing on her side. It pulsed like a living flame, feeding on her, strength trying to consume her from within. The air itself seemed alive, whispering with unseen energy. Daniel felt his own skin prickle as if something was calling to him. Something old. Something dangerous. The Queen's golden eyes never left him, sharp and untrusting. "You should not be here, human," she said, her voice both weak and commanding. "This place is forbidden, and so is my wound, do you understand?" Daniel swallowed hard, trying to find his words. "I don't want trouble, but I can't just walk away. You'll die here." Her lips curved into a faint, bitter smile. "You think death frightens me after all I have seen, after the wars I have fought." Her eyes hardened. "No one can heal me. Not even the greatest healers of my people. Only my destined mate could close this wound, and you are not him." Daniel felt a chill in his chest. The way she said it carried finality, like truth carved in stone. Yet something inside him pushed back against it. "I don't believe that," he said quietly, though his voice shook. "I've seen impossible things happen. Maybe this is one of them." The Queen narrowed her eyes, studying him as if she could see through his very soul. "You are bold, human, but boldness can also be foolishness. If you try, this curse may kill you instantly, or worse, bind you to me in ways you cannot understand." Her words hung heavy. In the chamber, Daniel felt his heartbeat race. The thought of being bound to an alien queen filled him with fear. And something else. Something he could not name. Before he could answer, the sound of stone shifting echoed through the cave. Alien guards entered, tall armored beings with glowing spears. They looked at Daniel with hatred burning in their eyes. One of them growled, "He should not be here, my queen. He is a trespasser. Let us end him." The Queen raised a weak hand, stopping them. "No, leave him," she whispered, her gaze never leaving Daniel. The guards hesitated, confused. "But my queen, the prophecy." "Silence," she commanded, and even in her weakened state, her voice carried the weight of command. The guards bowed, but their eyes promised death if Daniel made a wrong move. Daniel's mind spun with questions, prophecy, curse, destined mate. None of it made sense. He had only come for minerals, not to step into the middle of an alien destiny. Yet here he was, trapped in the Queen's hidden chamber, with creatures outside hunting him and guards inside ready to kill him. The only path forward was the impossible wound glowing before him. Daniel took a shaky breath. "What if I try?" he asked. The Queen's expression softened for the briefest moment, a flicker of hope mixed with fear. "You would risk your life for a stranger, a queen not of your world." Daniel thought of Earth, of the endless missions for survival, the desperate search for new resources. He thought of how alone he felt. On this alien planet, maybe saving her was not only about her, maybe it was also about proving something to himself. "I don't know why, but yes," he said, "I would try." The Queen's eyes widened, for the first time showing true vulnerability. "Then listen well, human. My wound is not flesh alone. It is bound by an oath of blood and spirit. Anyone who touches it will feel the pain of my people, the memories of 1,000 battles. If your soul is weak, it will break you." Her words struck him like thunder, but Daniel clenched his fists. "I've carried pain before, maybe I can carry this too." Slowly, he placed his hand over the wound. The moment his skin touched the glowing mark, a surge of energy shot. Through him, his vision blurred, the chamber vanished. He saw flashes of alien wars, burning cities under strange skies, endless rivers of soldiers clashing with fire and steel. He felt the agony of the Queen herself, her cries echoing in his mind, the betrayal of allies, the burden of a crown too heavy to carry. The pain was unbearable. His body screamed to pull away. But something inside him whispered, "Hold on." The queen gasped as light spread from the wound into Daniel's hand. The guards stepped back in shock, some dropping their weapons. "No, it cannot be," one whispered. The queen trembled, her golden eyes wide with disbelief. This should be impossible," she whispered. "No human should survive this." Daniel's body shook. Sweat poured down his face, but he did not let go. The wound pulsed again, brighter, angrier, as if fighting against him. For a moment, the cave itself shook, stones falling from the ceiling. Daniel screamed but pressed harder, pouring every bit of will into that single touch. Then suddenly the wound dimmed just slightly, but enough for the queen to feel relief for the first time in years. She inhaled sharply, her body relaxing against the stone, her face filled with both fear and awe. When Daniel finally pulled his hand away, he collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. The queen stared at him, her voice trembling for the first time. You touched the forbidden wound and lived. Only my true mate could do such a thing, and yet, you are human." Daniel lifted his head, his voice barely a whisper. "Then maybe I'm not just human." The chamber fell into stunned silence. The guards looked at one another in shock. The queen's eyes locked on him, filled with questions that could shake the foundation of her throne. And outside, the howls of the beasts grew louder, as if the world itself had sensed something had changed forever. The impossible healing. Daniel's body shook as he lay on the cold stone floor. His chest heaved with every breath, his vision blurred with pain. The glow from the queen's wound had dimmed, but it had not disappeared. It pulsed faintly, like a heart refusing to die. The queen leaned forward, staring at him with wide, golden eyes. Her voice carried both wonder and fear. "No outsider has ever touched my wound and survived. Even my strongest warriors failed, but you lived." Daniel pushed himself up slowly, his arms trembling. "I didn't heal it, not fully," he whispered, his throat dry. The queen nodded, her face grim. "Because it is not a wound of flesh, it is a wound of the soul. It binds me to the throne and to my mate. Without healing, my enemies will rise, my people will fall into chaos." Her words echoed in the chamber, the guards standing frozen in silence. One of them finally spoke, his voice shaking. "My queen, if this human can do what no one else could, then perhaps the prophecy—" "Enough," the queen snapped, though her voice cracked with weakness. She turned her eyes back to Daniel, studying him as if he was both a savior and a curse. Daniel's mind spun with her words. Prophecy, mate, throne. None of it made sense to him. He was just a man, an explorer lost on a hostile planet. Yet when he touched her wound, he had felt something real. The pain of her people, their memories, their suffering. It was more than pain, it was connection. Suddenly the ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling, cracks split across the walls of the chamber. The guards raised their weapons as a deep roar echoed from the tunnels. The beasts outside were not waiting anymore, they were forcing their way in. The queen's face grew pale. "They can smell weakness. They come for me, and now for you." Before Daniel could speak, 3 monstrous shapes burst into the chamber. The same creatures that had chased him before, but larger, hungrier. Their eyes glowed green, their jaws dripping with venom. The guards rushed to fight, spears clashing with claws. But the creatures were too strong, throwing armored warriors against the walls like toys. The chamber filled with the sound of battle, metal against bone, roars and screams. Daniel stumbled to his feet, looking for anything he could use. His laser cutter flickered weakly, its energy almost drained. Still he swung it at the nearest beast, burning its skin just enough to make it shriek, but it only turned its fury toward him. The beast lunged, its jaws wide. Daniel braced for death before the strike landed. Golden light exploded from behind him. The queen had risen from her throne, her body glowing with the faint energy he had awakened when he touched her wound. With one sweeping gesture, a wave of power knocked the beast back, slamming it into the stone wall. The queen gasped and nearly fell, clutching her wound. Daniel rushed to catch her. "You can't fight like this. You'll tear yourself apart." Her eyes burned with pride and rage. "I am queen. I will not hide while my enemies feast on my blood." The remaining beasts roared and circled them. The guards regrouped, holding them off with trembling arms. Daniel's heart pounded as he looked at the queen. He saw her pain, her strength, her desperate will to survive. And in that moment he made a choice. He grabbed her arm firmly. "Then, let me finish what I started," he said. Her eyes widened in shock. "You don't understand. If you fail, you will die, and worse. If the bond accepts you, you may never return to your world." Daniel looked at the beasts tearing through guards, at the cave walls shaking under the chaos. "Maybe I don't need to return," he whispered. Before she could stop him, Daniel pressed his hand back to the glowing wound. This time the light erupted violently, engulfing them both. The world around him vanished. He was no longer in the chamber. He was standing in a vast battlefield of stars. Millions of voices cried out, memories of her people flooding his mind again. But this time, instead of pushing him away, the wound pulled him deeper. It wanted him, it demanded all of him. Daniel screamed as fire tore through his chest. He saw visions of the queen as a child, raised to rule, trained in war, burdened by endless expectation. He felt her loneliness, the pain of betrayal, the curse placed upon her by enemies who feared her throne, and in the center of it all a shadowed figure loomed, a faceless enemy who whispered, "She will never be healed, she will never be whole, unless she finds the one chosen by fate." Daniel fell to his knees in the vision, his body breaking under the weight, but something inside him refused to give in. He thought of Earth, of humanity's endless struggle for survival. He thought of every scar he carried, every sacrifice, and he rose again, his voice breaking. "No fate decides who I am. No prophecy owns me." The battlefield of stars shook. The shadow figure screamed. The curse cracked, light spilling through its form. The wound's glow dimmed again. This time stronger, steadier. Daniel felt his strength drain away, but he held on. The queen's voice echoed in his mind, trembling. You are breaking it, how?" Daniel forced a smile through the agony. "Because I'm human and we don't stop." The light exploded, blinding. When Daniel opened his eyes, he was back in the chamber, collapsed against the queen. The beasts were gone, reduced to ash by the burst of power. The guards stared in awe, whispering among themselves. The queen trembled, looking down at her side. The wound was still there, but smaller, weaker, its curse fading. She touched Daniel's face gently, her voice shaking. "No human should have lived through that. No one but my true mate." Daniel, barely conscious, whispered back, "Then maybe your people never met a human before?" The queen's eyes filled with both fear and hope, and deep within the shadows of the chamber something ancient stirred, as if the universe itself had taken notice of what just happened. The queen's secret. The chamber lay in ruins, dust still falling from the ceiling. The guards stood shaken, their glowing spears trembling in their hands. Daniel knelt on the stone floor, drained, his body heavy like lead. The queen leaned against him, her silver skin dim but alive. Her golden eyes burned with a strange mix of awe and fear. "You should not exist," she whispered, her voice trembling. "No human should carry the strength of the bond, yet you did, and you survived twice." Daniel forced a weak laugh, though his chest ached. "Yeah, surviving seems to be a bad habit of mine." But behind the humor he felt unsettled. He had seen too much inside the wound. Visions of war, betrayal, and the shadowed figure whispering curses. Those memories were not his, yet they lived inside him now. He could still hear the voice mocking, waiting. The queen pushed herself upright, standing tall though she wavered with exhaustion. Her guards rushed to her side, but she raised a hand. "Leave us," she commanded. The guards hesitated, their eyes flicking with suspicion toward Daniel. "But, my queen, this human—" "Obey!" Her voice sharpened, carrying the weight of a monarch. Reluctantly, the guards bowed and stepped back, forming a silent wall at the edge of the chamber. Daniel frowned. "Why send them away?" The queen turned to him slowly, her golden eyes piercing. "Because what I tell you now is forbidden even for my own people. She moved closer, her presence heavy with power. This wound was not only a curse, it was a seal, placed upon me by enemies who feared my bloodline. They bound me so no mate of my kind could heal me. No warrior, no king, only a bond beyond our species could touch it. Daniel blinked, confusion washing over him. You mean, it had to be someone like me? Someone not from your world? The queen nodded, her gaze unyielding. Yes, a stranger. One who did not belong to our history. Someone who carried no chain to our past. The curse demanded impossibility. Yet here, you are. Her words hung in the air like thunder. Daniel's heart pounded, 100 questions filling his mind. Why him? Why now? Why was fate, or whatever this was, choosing him? But before he could speak, the queen stepped closer. Her voice lower, softer. There is more, human. The bond you touched is not one way, it flows both paths. If you felt my pain, then I felt yours. Daniel stiffened, the memory of his own scars flashing in his mind. The loneliness of Earth's missions, the long nights staring at empty skies, the guilt of lives lost in failed expeditions. He had buried those memories deep, but now they were no longer his alone. The queen whispered, I saw your world burning. I saw the hunger in your people. I saw your fear of dying far from home. All of it lives inside me now. Daniel's throat tightened. The connection was not just power, it was intimacy, raw and terrifying. She knew him now, more than any human ever had, and he knew her. Two lives tangled by something greater than either could control. Suddenly the chamber shook again, but this time it was not the beasts. It was deeper, darker. As if the planet itself groaned in pain, the guards shouted, bracing themselves. The queen's face turned pale. They have felt it, she whispered. The seal has weakened, and now they will come. Daniel's stomach dropped. Who will come? The queen's golden eyes glowed with dread. My enemies. The Shadow Court. They are the ones who cursed me. They rule from the dark edges of the galaxy, feeding on weakness, waiting for this moment. If they know the seal is breaking, they will not stop until I am destroyed. And you with me? The chamber lights flickered, shadows stretching unnaturally along the walls. Daniel felt a coldness brush his skin, like unseen hands clawing at him. He remembered the faceless figure from the vision, its voice slithering like poison. It was not gone, it was closer, watching, waiting. The queen grabbed his arm suddenly, her grip fierce despite her weakness. Listen to me, human. What you did today binds you to my fate. You are no longer just a trespasser on this world, you are part of the war for it. Daniel shook his head, his voice cracking. No, I'm just an explorer. I came here for minerals, for survival. Not for... You cannot run. She cut him off sharply, her voice ringing like steel. The bond has chosen. You healed the wound when none else could. The Shadow Court will hunt you now. For them, you are not human anymore. You are a threat. To their empire, the weight of her words crashed down on him. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but deep inside he knew it was true. The visions, the power, the curse, they had changed him. And the queen. She was no longer just a stranger. She was part of him, and he of her. The queen's eyes softened slightly, though her voice remained firm. There is one chance. If we reach the Heart Spire, the ancient core of my world, we may break the curse, fully. But it is far, across lands ruled by enemies, guarded by horrors. The journey will kill us both unless you accept what you are becoming. Daniel felt his knees weaken. What am I becoming? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. The queen stepped closer, her golden gaze locking with his. More than human and less something new, something the Shadow Court fears, but if you deny it, you will die, and so will I. The chamber grew silent, only the hum of the fading wound filling the air. Daniel looked into her eyes and saw not just a queen, but a soul bound to his own. He had a choice: return to the safety of denial, or walk into the fire of destiny, and in the shadows, unseen, Something ancient laughed as if the universe itself had already chosen for him. Enemies in the shadows. The cave's silence did not last. Whispers slithered through the cracks in the walls, voices that did not belong to flesh or bone. Daniel felt the hair on his neck rise, a cold breath passing over him like a warning. The queen's golden eyes flicked toward the shadows, sharp with fear. "They are already here," she whispered. "The shadow court sends their hunters." The guards tightened their grip on their spears, but their hands shook. Even the bravest of them knew what those words meant. The shadow court did not send armies, they sent assassins. Killers who struck from the dark, leaving no trace but silence and blood. Daniel's heart pounded. Hunters, assassins, they're after me too now, aren't they? The queen nodded slowly. You broke their seal, human. You touched power meant never to be touched. They will never let you live. Before he could speak, the chamber torches flickered and died. Darkness swallowed everything. The only light came from the faint glow of the queen's wound and the shimmer of her eyes. Then came the sound. Soft footsteps. Too many, too fast, moving across the stone like whispers of smoke. A scream cut through the dark. One guard fell with a spear through his chest before he even knew he was struck. Another guard swung his weapon, wildly, but his head rolled from his shoulders in an instant. The assassins were shadows made flesh, tall, thin, cloaked in black mist, their blades dripping with poison that burned through stone itself. Daniel stumbled back, panic clawing at him. He had no weapon strong enough. His laser cutter was almost dead. One assassin lunged toward him, its blade aimed for his throat. But the queen moved faster than his eyes could follow. With a flash of golden energy, she deflected the strike, sending sparks across the chamber. Her body trembled with the effort, the wound glowing dangerously. Every move she made drained her further, yet she fought like a storm trapped inside a dying body. Daniel wanted to help, but he had nothing. No weapon, no training, only his will. Still, he refused to hide. He grabbed a broken spear from a fallen guard and swung it wildly. The assassin hissed, recoiling at his defiance. For the first time, Daniel saw hesitation in its movements. "The queen," shouted, her voice ringing across the chamber. "They fear you, human. They fear the bond inside you." Daniel froze, his chest heaving. Fear them, why? He had felt powerless his entire life, yet here even shadows of death hesitated. Something had changed in him since touching the wound. Something the assassins recognized. The fight raged. Guards, falling one by one. Daniel and the queen stood back to back, her golden light flashing against the black of the assassins. But even as they fought, more shadows poured into the chamber, endless, unstoppable. The queen's voice was grim. "We cannot win here, we must escape." A sudden crack split open in the far wall. The assassins had not made it. This was something older, a hidden passage, carved by ancient hands, glowing faintly with symbols Daniel had seen in the tunnels. Before, the queen's eyes narrowed. "The Heartspire's path, fate pushes us forward." She grabbed Daniel's hand, her touch electric. "Run," she commanded, her voice carrying both desperation and authority. Together they dashed for the passage, the assassins shrieking behind them, blades slamming against stone. The guards, who still lived, threw themselves into the fight, holding the hunters back with their lives. "Go, my queen," one shouted, before being cut down in silence. Daniel's chest burned as they ran through the twisting tunnel. The air grew colder, filled with whispers that dug into his skull. The assassins did not give up. They followed, silent but certain. Every step felt like running from death itself. At last the passage opened into a vast cavern, and there, at the center, stood an ancient machine, towering and broken. Its surface, etched with glowing lines, it pulsed faintly like a heartbeat, filling the space with a deep hum. The queen's breath caught, her eyes wide. "The Gate of Echoes," she whispered, "a relic older than my throne." Daniel stared at it, confused and awed. "What is it?" The queen's face hardened. "A path and a trap. It can carry us closer to the Heartspire, but only if it accepts us. If it rejects us, it will tear us apart." Before Daniel could respond, The assassins poured into the cavern, dozens now, their eyes burning like green fire. The queen stepped forward, raising her hand, her body shaking from the effort. "Go," she commanded him. "Touch the gate. If it accepts you, the path will open." Daniel shook his head violently. "What about you?" Her golden eyes softened, filled with something deeper than command. "I will follow. The bond ties us, but only you can awaken it." The assassins advanced, their blades singing like whispers of death. Daniel's body screamed to run, to hide, but something inside him answered louder. The same force that let him touch her wound, the same force the assassins feared. He stepped to the gate, pressing his hand against its glowing surface. The machine roared to life, light flooding the cavern. The assassins hissed and recoiled, but they did not stop. They threw themselves forward as if willing to die just to prevent him. Daniel screamed as energy surged through him. Visions flashed again. The Queen's throne, the Shadow Court, galaxies burning, humanity itself standing on the edge of extinction, and a voice, the same faceless shadow, whispering with fury, "You should not be. You will not exist." Daniel clenched his jaw, forcing the words out. Too late. The gate erupted, a beam of light sweeping across the cavern, ripping the assassins into ash, tearing the shadows apart. The force knocked Daniel to his knees, his body searing with pain. The Queen staggered to him, catching him before he fell, her voice fierce. "You awakened it, human. The gate has chosen you." But as the light faded, Daniel looked back at the cavern. From the deepest shadows, one assassin still stood, untouched, taller and darker than the rest. Its eyes burned with endless hate. It did not attack. It only pointed at him. And then its voice hissed across the cavern. "The court knows your name now, Daniel of Earth, and they are coming. The final healing. Ritual." The Gate of Echoes hummed like a living heart, its ancient light still fading from the cavern walls. Daniel knelt, gasping for breath, his body weak from the surge of power. The Queen held him steady, her silver skin glowing faintly, but her wound pulsed again, darker now, as if angry that its seal had been broken. Her golden eyes met his, fierce and urgent. "The wound fights back. It knows the Shadow Court is near. If we do not finish the healing soon, it will consume me. And through our bond, it may consume you too." Daniel swallowed hard, his voice hoarse. "Then tell me what I have to do." The Queen hesitated, her gaze heavy with both fear and hope. "There is only one path left. The final ritual. It is not just healing, it is binding. Once done, there is no turning back. Our lives will be one. Your strength will feed mine, and mine will bind to yours. If you fail, both of us will die." Her words struck him like a blade. One life bound to another. Two fates tied forever. Daniel's heart pounded, not from fear alone, but from the weight of the choice. He looked at the wound, glowing like a fire that refused to die, and he knew there was no other way. "Then we finish it," he said, his voice steady despite the storm in his chest. The Queen studied him for a long moment, her golden eyes searching his soul. Finally, she nodded slowly. "Very well, but understand. The ritual demands blood, spirit, and memory. It will strip you bare, reveal all that you are. There will be no secrets left between us, not even the ones you wish to keep." Daniel clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "Then let it strip me. I have nothing left to hide." The Queen stepped to the gate, placing her hand against its surface. Symbols across the machine blazed to life, casting the cavern in brilliant gold. The floor split open, revealing a circle carved into the stone, filled with strange runes that pulsed like veins. She motioned for him to stand inside with her. "This circle is older than my throne. It binds the ritual. Once it begins, the gate itself will judge us." Daniel stepped inside, his chest tight with anticipation. The Queen raised her hand, slicing her palm with her blade, silver blood dripping onto the runes. "Now you," she commanded, her voice firm. Daniel hesitated only for a breath, then dragged his knife across his skin, letting red human blood fall beside hers. The runes flared, glowing brighter. their two bloods mixing and sinking into the stone. The cavern trembled, the gate roared, and a wave of energy wrapped around them like fire and ice at once. Daniel gasped as his mind was torn open. Images flashed. His childhood on Earth, the first stars he ever saw, the faces of those he lost on missions, every failure, every scar. The Queen's voice whispered inside him, trembling, "I see you, Daniel of Earth. I see the pain you carry." Then her memories poured into him. He saw her world burning under the shadow court, her crown forced upon her as a child, the betrayal of those closest to her, the curse seared into her flesh, the loneliness of ruling a throne of ashes. He staggered, nearly falling under the weight of it, but her hand gripped his, steadying him. "Stand, human, if you fall now, we are lost." The wound flared, brighter than ever before, a storm of light tearing at them both. Daniel screamed as agony ripped through his chest, the bond dragging him deeper into the heart of her curse. He saw the faceless shadow again, taller, clearer now, its voice echoing with venom. "You do not belong, human. Leave this throne, leave this queen. She is ours," Daniel roared back, his voice raw. "No, she is not yours. She never was." The shadow's laughter shook the cavern. "Then die with her." The wound exploded, a flood of fire and darkness engulfing Daniel. He felt his soul tearing apart, fragments of himself scattering into nothing. But then, he felt her, the Queen, her spirit burning bright against the storm. Her voice cut through the darkness like steel. "You are not alone, Daniel. I am with you." Their hands tightened together, their blood mixing, their memories entwining. Daniel dug deeper, past the pain, past the fear, into the one truth he knew. He would not let her fall. Not now. Not ever. He pushed everything he had into the bond. His anger, his hope, his humanity. The darkness cracked, light spilling through. The shadow screamed, breaking apart into smoke, and for the first time the wound began to close. The cavern blazed with light, runes burning like stars. The gate, shaking with energy, Daniel collapsed to his knees, his chest heaving, his vision fading. The Queen fell beside him, her wound smaller now, no longer blazing with poison, but glowing faintly like a scar healing at last. Her golden eyes shone. As she touched his face, her voice trembling with awe. "You gave me what none of my kind could. You gave me life, Daniel, and now you are bound to me." Daniel tried to speak, but his voice cracked, his strength gone. Still, he managed to whisper, "Then I guess we both live or die together now." The Queen smiled faintly. Though her eyes burned with tears, she would never show her people. "Yes, my mate," she whispered, though the word carried more weight than he could yet understand. But before relief could settle, the gate thundered again. The shadows along the walls twisted, forming the shape of an army waiting in the dark. The bond may have healed the Queen, but the ritual had sent a signal far beyond the cavern. The Shadow Court had heard it, and now they were coming. The mate revelation. The cavern still trembled with the echo of the ritual. Daniel lay on the stone floor, his breath ragged, his skin slick with sweat. The Queen knelt beside him, her golden eyes glowing faintly, her wound now only a scar of light. For the first time in years she was free of the curse's grip, yet her expression was not relief. It was fear. The gate of echoes pulsed with fading energy, its runes still glowing from the ritual. But within the shadows of the cavern, shapes stirred, tall and thin, their eyes like green fire. The assassins had returned, more of them than before, surrounding the chamber in silence. Behind them, the air itself split open. From the rift stepped a figure taller than any guard, cloaked in darkness so thick it swallowed the light. Its face was hidden, only two burning eyes staring down like suns of poison. The Queen froze, her body tense. "The Shadow Court," she whispered, her voice shaking with something Daniel had never heard from her before. Dread. The figure's voice rolled across. "The cavern, deep and venomous. So the seal has broken and the Queen still breathes. How disappointing." Daniel forced himself to his feet, his knees shaking. He gripped the Queen's arm for balance, glaring at the figure. "You're the one from the visions, the shadow that cursed her." The figure's head tilted slightly, a cruel smile, hidden in the dark. And you must be the mistake, the human who dares to touch what is not his. Daniel clenched his fists, his heart racing. I don't care what you think, she's alive, and I'll keep her that way. The figures, laugh echoed, shaking the cavern walls. Bold words, mortal. But do you even understand what you are, why the bond chose you? The queen's eyes flicked to Daniel, pain and truth warring within her. She whispered, This is what I feared. He will tell you what I could not. Daniel turned to her, confusion striking him like a blade. What do you mean? Her voice cracked. The bond revealed to me something I kept hidden, something my people would never accept. You are not here by accident, Daniel. You are the key the court tried to erase. The shadow's voice cut through the air, cruel and mocking. Yes, tell him, Queen. Tell him why his blood can heal what none of your kind could. Tell him why. His touch burns against the seal. Tell him what he truly is. Daniel's stomach dropped, his mind spinning. What are they talking about? He demanded. The queen's eyes filled with sorrow, her hand trembling as she reached for him. Daniel, you are human, yes, but your blood carries more. It carries what was hidden long ago. Your ancestors were touched by us, by the stars, by my kind. You are not fully human. The cavern went silent. Even the assassins froze as the truth echoed. Daniel stumbled back, shaking his head. No, that's impossible. I was born on Earth. My parents... Her voice cut him like steel. They never knew. The Shadow Court erased the truth. Your people were meant to forget. But you are proof of the bond between our kinds. That is why you could heal me, why you could survive the ritual. Daniel's chest tightened, his breath short. All his life he thought he was ordinary, a man chasing survival. And now, this. The figure in the shadows laughed again, cruel and sharp. Foolish queen, foolish hybrid, you think this revelation makes you strong, but it only paints a target on you both. The galaxy will not follow a queen bound to a half-human mistake. They will tear you apart before you ever reach the Heartspire. The queen stood tall, golden, fire blazing in her eyes. They will not tear us apart because I am queen and he is mine. Her words shook the chamber, carrying a power Daniel could feel in his bones. The assassins hissed, the Shadow Court figure snarled, but Daniel only stared at her, stunned. Yours, he whispered, his voice weak. Her hand gripped his firmly, her gaze unflinching. You healed me when none else could. You faced my curse, my enemies, my death. Only a mate could do this. And whether you accept it or not, you are my mate. Daniel's mind roared, his heart pounding in chaos. Mate. The word carried weight. More than love. More than fate. It was a bond unbreakable, eternal. He wanted to deny it, to push it away. But deep inside he knew. The bond had already chosen before he could speak. The shadowed figure raised its hand, the cavern shaking violently. The assassins advanced, their blades glowing with poison fire. The queen pulled Daniel close, her voice fierce. Run is no longer an option, human. This is the war of destiny, and we stand together. Daniel raised his broken spear, his body screaming with exhaustion. Yet when he looked at her, standing proud even with scars burning across her body, he felt something deeper than fear. Resolve, he whispered back. Then let's show them what a mistake looks like. The cavern erupted in chaos, the assassins charging, the shadow's laughter echoing like thunder. The Gate of Echoes roared, again, its light flaring wildly as if answering their bond. And in that blinding storm of battle and revelation, Daniel realized the truth. He was no longer fighting for survival, no longer running from monsters. He was standing at the center of a war that would decide not only the Queen's throne, but the fate of two species and the Shadow Court's final. Words rang in his mind like a curse. The galaxy will kneel to us or burn with you.